Hi guys, Cabal TGN, and in this video we're going to cover some basic gladiator tanking strategies in Final Fantasy XIV. Since this is a tanking series, let's start off by talking just a little bit about enmity. Enmity is the Final Fantasy version of what is commonly called aggro in other MMORPGs. The Final Fantasy XIV user interface depicts your enmity in a little rectangle which is located below your character's name when you're in a party. Also, within the HUD layout, there is a special pane called Enemy List. This pane shows you which mobs are present during the combat, and it also shows you whether or not you have their aggro. If you have a mob's aggro, a red light will flash in a little red circle. If you're losing aggro, it will start to flash orange. And if you've lost aggro, it'll actually turn into a yellow shield. This is a very useful tool for tanking. An alternative way you can tell if you have a mob's aggro is by looking at your target's target. A tank has two primary responsibilities in a party: holding aggro and mitigating as much damage as possible. There are many gladiator abilities that generate enmity. Savage Blade, Flash, and Shield Lob all generate enmity. You typically want to use Savage Blade as a combo finisher to generate enmity on a single target, and you want to use Flash to generate enmity on multiple targets. If you need to generate enmity on a mob that is out of your melee range, use Shield Lob. You can sometimes use Shield Bash to stun targets if you can't get their aggro right away, or as a way of interrupting a mob's special ability. Another big part of tanking is intelligently managing your defensive cooldowns. I define a defensive cooldown as any ability that mitigates incoming damage or heals you. In the last video, we covered some useful macros that manage our healing and damage mitigation cooldowns in separate macros. You can see the defensive cooldowns and healing macro on the screen right now. When using the damage mitigation cooldowns, I will generally stagger them as much as I can instead of blowing more than one at a time, unless it looks like I'm going to die. As you can see, this gladiator has 4 separate damage mitigation cooldowns available to him. You'll see how we use these defensive cooldowns in an example later in the video. When I was leveling my Conjurer to 15 in preparation for unlocking the Paladin class, I did a lot of guild heists, and I grouped with a lot of tanks that didn't hold aggro, so I ended up tanking some of the time. This brings us to a related tanking topic: situational awareness. Being a great tank means having great situational awareness. Situational awareness is being aware of what's happening in the vicinity. You need to keep an eye on the entire scene. If a mob spawns, you need to gain aggro as soon as possible. Now let's move on to some example pulls that tie all of these concepts together. Alright, we are now moving on to another trash pull. As you can see, we have quite a few mobs, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up with Shield Lob, and then Flash, defensive cooldown, Flash, Shield Bash on that one, Flash again, need to Shield Bash that mob, Flash, defensive cooldown, Flash, want to get a Savage Blade in here, tap target, defensive cooldown, Flash, Savage Blade, Shield Bash, it's tab target, Savage Blade, it's tab target again, waiting for some TP so I can interrupt this caster. Let's go ahead and interrupt the caster right now. Savage Blade. And there we go. Looks like here's the boss. So I'm going to pull a Shield Lob. And then start spamming Savage Blade. Defensive cooldown. Savage Blade. Running a little low on TP. Savage Blade. Okay. Defensive cooldown. Just use Convalescence to help the healer. Savage Blade. Go back to spamming Fast Blade and Savage Blade to hold aggro. Waiting for him to do a frontal ability so I can interrupt it. Now. Okay. Let's get a Savage Blade in. Defensive cooldown. And there we go. Pretty straightforward. And that wraps up this video. Thanks for watching.